Hello, it's day 13. I'm Pat Beaupre Becker, certified weight loss coach, and I have been sharing my tips and strategies to help you stick to your food plan so that you can get to your goal weight and stay there. So even if you are over 60, even if you've never succeeded before, so much new information we know about food, about the practices of new habits, changing our brains. And so there's lots of new information that you can put into your toolbox as you plan to lose weight, get to a goal, and then stick to it. Now, unfortunately, that bird is there, and I did not put the bird away. So the bird is going to be with us today. So again, it's day 13, and the topic is emotions and food. So what is the most important thing about emotions? And I think the most important thing about emotions is just to understand that they are normal, that having an emotion means you're a human being. And we all have emotions, and sometimes our emotions are more intense than others. Sometimes they're repeated. We have similar emotions based on maybe a habit or a cue or a memory. But in any case, when you realize that your emotions are really, they initiate from a thought that you have. So things happen in the world, and we have an emotional response, and why we have the emotional response is because of the interpretation we make of that circumstance. So, for instance, if I, come home and my husband is sitting there watching TV, and I think he doesn't really want to talk to me, he's not paying any attention to me, he doesn't love me. So really what happened is I came home and my husband was sitting there watching TV, and I interpreted it to mean all these things. And when I'm thinking he doesn't love me, I feel really bad, right? So my emotions come from that thought. It doesn't come from my husband sitting there watching TV. And so often in the past, what I would have done is thought he doesn't love me, and therefore, I'm just not worthy. I wouldn't even think that I wasn't worthy, but I would start to behave and act out on my emotions, and quite often it was with food. So I would eat food that was not good for me. I would break my promise to myself, and then I would be even more uncomfortable and unhappy, and therefore just believing that my emotions were, life was just terrible because I felt terrible. But really it was just this emotion that I was having in reaction to a thought that I had created or an opinion that I had about that moment in time with my husband. So if you can start to look at your emotions and look at your reactions to things, and to understand that emotions, which are sadness, joy, disappointment, grief, sorrow, longing, we have so many different emotions, right? And some of them are categorized as positive, and some of them are categorized as negative. And maybe it's important to understand that because negative emotions, they are created in us kind of like as a safety. They create a situation where your brain does not work 100% when you are in a negative emotion. In studies that they've done about the brain, and they have observed people who are maybe continuously angry, that they're part of their prefrontal cortex, the communication between the prefrontal cortex and their limbic system is weakened. And when there's a positive emotion, if you're feeling motivated, if you're feeling love, if you're feeling acceptance, then there is a stronger connection between the prefrontal cortex, which we've been calling the CEO of our brain. So emotions are part of life, and accepting that you have emotions is really important, and understanding that there's nothing wrong when you have an emotion, and that as a human being, 50% of life is going to be great, and 50% of life is going to be not so great based on things that happen in the world, based on family members getting sick, people die. I mean, we just don't always feel happy all of the time. But when we accept our emotions, then there's a different thing that can happen. So if I'm not accepting my emotion, what I used to do when I would eat, I would feel sad or angry at my husband, and I would really just want to pretend that nothing happened. And I would really just want to hide what I was feeling, because I certainly didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to communicate, right? And so what I would do is I would eat, and part of that eating was just stuffing down that emotion, right? So I was really trying to and a little bit of distraction. Like once I'm eating, I'm totally distracted from the problem that I have. So there are ways that you can allow your emotion, which is different than resisting it or pushing it away. Like the tension that it takes to hold something back, it takes a lot of attention and a lot of resistance. And so your focus is now physically on your physical body. It's on that mind. It's on trying to manage or cover up or hide that emotion. So all that energy is, being put on your emotion, on keeping it still. And quite often we just continuously eat because we're not finding our way through and our way out. So I have a couple of practices about how do you stop eating emotionally. So the first thing that you want to do is you really want to be aware that first off, your feelings are created by a thought. But sometimes when you're in the midst of that feeling, it's like, well, that's not very helpful. So what it is helpful for me is to really observe your body. What is that emotion actually? Like, generally speaking, like fear for me might be this tension in my chest, really tightness in my throat, and let's see, and maybe just this sensation, like I just almost like jumping out of my skin. And so if I'm willing to observe that that is what I am feeling in my body, then I can disassociate it with the thought of what it is that I'm afraid of. Because what happens is when we have that thought of fear, it's like, let's say it's a fear of getting fired, or fear, so you think that you've done something in your job and you're so afraid, and so you don't want to really confront it, and so you are living in this fear and your body is very tense. So once you notice that your body is tense, then you can say, oh, okay, name that emotion. So fear for you or fear for me might be tension in my throat, a stress in my chest, and so what's so bad about feeling that? Like, why am I ruining my life over the not wanting to feel a little tension in my throat and some tension in my chest? So we can really look at what's happening in that moment. Your physical reaction is really not so terrible. It's really the thoughts connected with it that make it so bad. I like to say, like, for me, shame is like having a hot flash with a really bad movie in my head. And so you can separate the thoughts in your head from the feeling in your body. And then you could maybe question, like, is it that bad to have that feeling? Because sometimes being human, we just have to have that feeling. And processing it would just be by allowing it to be in your body. So I have to say that earlier today, I was taking a test and I had to drink this product that was like 75 grams of sugar. I don't eat any sugar, so I think that this having sugar in my body has really slowed me down today. So I have to apologize for that. But in any case, emotions, again, if you think about when you think about someone you love and you think about a child, and you can really conjure up that feeling and you start to feel warm, you start to feel good about someone that you love or about your child, it really can change your emotional state. So understanding that you can impact your emotional state by working with your thoughts is really, really crucial. So I have a worksheet. If you're interested in it, you can send me a message, and I'll be happy to send it to you as well. So we eat because we don't manage our emotions. We think that we're distracting ourselves from our emotions, and so we're grabbing food or we're eating a fog eating, which is like we are actually just not even wanting to, we're in a fog, we don't even know, we start to eat, next thing you know, whatever we've eaten is gone and we don't even know how it happened. It's like when you drive somewhere and you arrive and you're like, I don't even remember how I got here. So we call that fog eating, and that's just like not being aware of what's happening in the moment in your life. So for fog eating, what you really want to do is learn how to be more attentive, learn how to be more aware of what it is you're going to eat. And of course, all of the 14 days we've been talking about is a plan. So you have a plan. And when you are not following your plan, if it's because you're fogged out or you just started eating and you don't even know how, the truth is that you are the one putting the food in your mouth, and there's always a thought that precedes it or a habit that precedes it. So really becoming like the archaeologist, observing yourself, or the scientist, becoming curious, really curious about your emotions, about what those emotions cause you to do, right? Because from that emotion is why we have a motivation to do things or to not do things. So that's pretty much a very simple sampler on emotions. So if you want to get that worksheet, then you can send me a message and I'll be happy to give it to you. So the fun part of the day was I wanted to talk about spices, and I wanted to talk about spice blends. And I have here quite a few, which I'm not sure you can see. I'll see if I can move this camera down. I'll move this camera back a little bit. So, okay, so we have, I was just sharing with a friend about cooking vegetables, and I said I have vegetables, you know, twice a day, and she was like, oh, I'm so bored with steamed vegetables. And I was like, well, you know what, there's like so many different ways you can cook steamed vegetables. So there are spices, individual spices, there are spice blends, and what I thought I would do today was actually help create a spice blend to show you how easy it is. So I found this on the internet, of course, the women's, where is it? I'm sorry. So the Women's Health created these nine easy do-it-yourself spice blends. And you can look it up from Women's Health, and it's really cool because they just have the list and the pictures of all of the different spice blends that you can make. And there it is, and it's called the Women's Health. Women's Health was the source for this little handout. So what I did was, I thought, well, let's make some curry. Even though you can buy curry already made, I thought it's really amazing when you think about how simple it is. And there was a study I just read yesterday where cumin, women had some cumin and a little bit of yogurt. I think it was twice a day. I'm not sure how many grams, but they actually lost more weight than the women in the study who did not have cumin. So I'm telling you, these spices are really good for your nervous system. They're good for your immune system. They help with they're anti-inflammatory. So, and I guess with cumin, it actually helps with weight loss as well. So what I've done is I've already, so we're going to create the curry blend. So what I've done is I've already taken the little spices and I've measured them out. So that's turmeric, right? And then this is actually Ceylon, it's cinnamon and cayenne pepper, which was just a half a teaspoon of each. And then this was a teaspoon and a half of ground cardamom, okay? And then we have 2 tablespoons of ground cumin and 2 tablespoons, uh-oh, my flour got in there, of ground coriander. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these away here. And I'm just going to take each of these. So I have this container, which this is the one that has the cardamom, and I'm just going to mix them up. So we just put everything in there, right? That's my turmeric, and that is my coriander, and this is my cumin. Okay, so then I just take that and I cover it up, right? And then shake it. So all I'm doing is taking all the spices and making a blend. And now I have some of my own curry powder. And I can mix that with some bone broth and put some vegetables in there, various vegetables. Really good with carrots if you want some flavor for carrots. Cumin is really good, and curry is really good. Cauliflower and curry. If you can imagine when you go to an Indian restaurant and they have all these different assortment of foods with curry, and you can just use your own little curry powder, that blend that you've created, and then it's fresh and it's kind of nice. The smells are really good. So of course there's also things you could buy. So this is Williams and Sonoma, and this is a tar, which is a flavoring, Middle Eastern flavoring, and it has thyme and sesame seed, and what else? Sea salt and sumac. It's really good. I love this stuff. And again, you can just put it on your cauliflower. You can figure out what vegetables you're having and add it to a vegetable and see what you like. Then you can also buy, like here's a Mexican blend. And so this one has, let's see, but you have to check the ingredients, because sometimes they put sugar in these little things and you don't need any sugar in it. So this one has cumin, garlic, paprika, white pepper, thyme, and onion. Really good stuff. And that's the Mexican blend. So, you know, even just adding a little bit of Mexican blend on a potato, if you're having potatoes, and just put it on the potatoes as you're roasting the potatoes. Or using it like on your chicken, right? If you're having chicken, you can decide I'm going to have a Mexican spice. And then also here, this is called tangine spice. Again, this is a Williams and Sonoma. And this is paprika, ginger, black pepper, turmeric, and has a pretty color and a really nice, let's smell it, nice smell. And again, really good with mixed vegetables. If you want to mix some vegetables up, and you can just put it, you know, steam them or roast them, and you can use the tangine. Then of course there's a curry, which is very common, right? You can get curry in your grocery store, already pre-made. And then this here is Chinese 5-spice. Again, you know, you can, if you're going to have your spiralizer, and you can use spiralized zucchini, and you can actually use some Chinese 5-spice on it. And what's the last one? The last one would be Italian seasoning. And again, you could make these yourself if you like, or you can just use them. And there doesn't have to be, it's really good for you. It adds flavor to your food. It adds variety. So you have no excuse to say that your food is boring, even though what you're having is what's called clean food, right? Which is just whole foods that taste really good, and with these fabulous spices on them, they taste even better. So this is day 12. Tomorrow is day 13, and I'm so happy that you have been here with me, and I hope that I've given you some tips and strategies so that when you are ready and continuing through your weight loss journey, when you come up against an obstacle, you will create or find one of the tools that I have shared with you that are going to help you create new habits, so that this time you're going to get to your goal weight and you're going to stay there. That's the promise. My name is Pat Beaupre Becker, certified weight loss coach, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hey, and don't forget, I'm having a webinar, a class that I'm teaching on Monday night. I want you all to come, and that class is called How to Reach Your 3 Secrets to How to Reach Your Goal Weight and Stay There, even if you're over 60. So thank you, my friends, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.